Okay, continuing my little interview with Isabelle Hains. Listen, I'm going to ask you a question. It's a blog. I could use some bad language if I want. If I was a parent, a volunteer or a parent to drive these vans, what are those vans?
The multifunctionality buses that
Yes,
they have
the buses
in the
they
province
have,
because
yes.
the 15-passenger vans are banned?
Yes. If I was a parent, force or volunteer to drive those, wouldn't that scare the shit out of me? That if something happened, that this issue could be revisited all over again? There's a lot of pressure on these drivers to make sure they don't cause an accident.
I imagine there is.
Has to be.
And who's putting the pressure on them? I would say the Department of Education is. And they're relying on parents and volunteers to do
What union drivers are supposed to do.
what professional drivers are supposed to do, because you don't see those the parents and the volunteers and the coaches driving yellow school buses, do you?
No.
Like a yellow school bus is like this, okay? And a multifunction activity vehicle is exactly like this, except it's not painted national yellow like a yellow school bus. And we have a professional driver driving students every day from 8 to 4. But they don't use multifunction activity vehicles. Well, they use multifunction activity vehicles, but they don't use the Class 2 drivers behind the wheel. What they do is they give them a course on a multifunction activity bus, and show them and give them details on how to do a pre-trip, and they give them their license. And I think that's a big responsibility to put on volunteers. A huge responsibility.
A lot of pressure.
A lot of pressure, because these vehicles are much bigger than a 15-passenger van. So, just having a Class 4 license with a 15-passenger van like they did before, that's what they had, and now they're using the same class for a multifunction activity bus, a 4. I don't understand it, because the Class 2 drivers are driving these vehicles, and they're the ones that have the experience, and they're the experts behind the wheel.
Did I hear a story that the night of the tragedy, there was a professional driver that was driving a bus and he decided not to go on the roads? Do you know anything about that?
Well, after we always end up meeting somebody that has a story to tell us, and this one person is a Class 2 driver, and he was driving a yellow school bus, and also he was driving from Moncton, and they left Moncton the same time our boys did, and he called the principal when they got to Bouctouche and said, "I can't drive anymore, the roads are terrible and I'm stopping with the children," and they took a motel, and it cost a little over $600, and it was a hockey team, and he kept the children safe because he knew that was his responsibility and his job, because he's a Class 2 driver, to keep the children safe. And volunteers maybe feel a little more pressured, and they feel like, okay, volunteers, well, they drive children to the game and they get the children back, and that's what they volunteer for. And the Class 2 drivers, well, they're there to keep the children safe because that's their job. That's their job.
I sure wouldn't want to be a volunteer and driving the bus.
It's great to have volunteers, but volunteers could be doing other things like coaching and and organizing the teams. But when it's a huge responsibility to put 20 children, 21 children, 24 children in a vehicle, and when a 15-passenger van at the time could carry maybe 12, and these vehicles are much huge. They're huge, or not huge. They're a special vehicle. They're not a 15-passenger van. They're made like a school bus, and I feel that maybe some volunteers are not getting the best experience that they can through the course that they're giving through the Department of Education, and when we already have the drivers driving them every day.
Well, sad.